Yes, hello, and welcome to the introduction training to IRIS-BG. We're going to start in a second here with a 90-minute session where we're going to start very slowly. So this today the training will be based on the fact that you know very little about IRIS, so that you can start completely from scratch. So in this first session, which we call introduction, we're going to talk about the terms used in IRIS, sort of their special terms that sometimes are slightly different from other systems, and different parts of the world might use slightly different words for certain parts of the work needed or in relation to collection management. We're going to talk about navigation in IRIS, and then we're going to learn how to search for records, basic search and advanced search, and then we're going to start slowly by adding and updating records, looking at reports and maps, and then finally we're going to round off with giving you an idea about how to find help in IRIS and also online. So at the end of this 90 minutes, you should be quite comfortable in doing basic work with IRIS already, meaning finding accessions, maybe adding a few records, etc. So that's the plan, and let's move. If you have any questions, just interrupt me, or you can also use the chat function, so I can see that you have a question. That's entirely up to you, whatever is most convenient for you. Okay, so with the tests we do, or with the exercises we have, we are using the trial version of IRIS. So if you don't have that installed, get that installed so you have that ready, and then we'll get to that point a little bit later. Before we start, I'm going to talk a bit about IRIS, sort of in where we're coming from. So IRIS was first version of IRIS was delivered in '96, so we're more than 20 years old now. It has gone through a number of changes, very big changes, and to cut a long story short, we're used to by over 100 institutions on 5 continents. So there's a map here, or this map is also available online on our website, so you can look and see who's just joined and who's joined nearby where you live. In addition to IRIS, there's also a sister product called Corima, which is a software for managing any type of preserved collections, botanical and zoological. So the reason we're doing this, or why we think we make a difference in terms of developing IRIS, is that we have a background in professional software engineering, but we also have a professional background in botany. One of our chief architect, he's a botanist and a software engineer, so that means that we can deliver top quality software and also understand the complexity of botany, such as taxonomy, etc. So that's why we think we can help a lot of gardens out there. I'm also going to talk a bit about what IRIS has, what is included in the software, so you have an idea about what you're going to use and what the possibilities are, and a bit about the philosophy of IRIS in general. So in many systems, you will typically have one record keeper, one person who's responsible for looking at and updating the plant records, and this person can often be tucked away. Nobody, you have to knock on his office door or her office door to get a list of plant records, and then you the data is inaccessible, etc. So that is not unusual. It was more common in the old days, but it's still common in certain gardens for different reasons, technologically and practically. What IRIS is, it's more than just plant records. It's a collection management software, That means that we offer another extra capabilities on top of just keeping a list of what plants you have in the garden. That will be more evident to you as we go through the training here, that it does much more than just, keeping a list of the plants you have. In addition, we think it's very important that other staff, that most employees in the garden can actually access and use the data. If the data is locked away and it's hardly used by anybody, the value of the data is very limited, but also the quality, the reason for keeping them up to date is reduced. So there's many good arguments for sharing the data, but a collection itself without information, if you don't know what plants you have, it's decreased in value, immediately. So it's let's say a balance between staff and the system. In addition to collection management, I want to mention that IRIS can manage not only living material but also preserved material in that can be stored directly alongside the living material. We have invested a lot of effort into making image handling easy, so you can store photos of your plant material. IRIS comes with integrated mapping. So what we've done there is to try to take away the complexity of mapping. Mapping can be quite difficult. If you have looked at software tools, especially for this purpose, you will find that there's a lot of things you need to understand to get started. So what we've done here, and the same with image handling, is to try to make it easy, so you can focus on keeping track of your plants, really. And then we have a data import feature, so you can prepare spreadsheets and update that into the system. When we made the first version of that, we didn't think it would be interesting for a lot of people, but it turned out to be very useful in many different scenarios. So especially if you've been out for collection trips or you get long lists of taxa from another garden or whatever, those kind of scenarios. And there's also what is called IRIS-BG Handheld, so you can update your plant collection out in the garden using a handheld device. And we have something called Garden Explorer, which is a website so that you can share your plant collection with your visitors. And then there is Indexeminum, which is a website for if you have seeds you collect that you can share with other share with other gardens. So it becomes like a shopping system, but it's free usually, so that you share your seeds with other botanic gardens. And then this is, of course, designed to be very secure, so that your websites are, your core database is protected from the outside, etc. So and then so IRIS is the most comprehensive solution for botanic gardens today, with all the options that we offer. And finally, I want to also mention that we have something called different tools that are free to download that can be installed on top of all this. I'll mention that a bit later, but these are available from our website on the support downloads. There's a plugin for Excel and Word, for example, etc. So we'll probably mention that a bit later in the session or later in the program. So that is the sort of a big overview of what IRIS offer.
Hello.
Finally, question.
Yeah. I have a question. In our record, we keep in a BRAMS, Botanical Research and Management System, BRAMS. So far, we keep our record in BRAMS. So the records we have is dry specimen collection record and living collection record. And we also have tree inventory record, which is in Excel file. So can we transfer them into IRIS-BG?
Yes, you can. There are several methods, but the data import could probably, depending on how much data you have, I mean, in terms of complexity, the data import should be able to help you there. Alternatively, we can help you to transfer the data for you manually. So we have to look at the data to tell you what is the best approach. But in general, the data import can do quite a lot. So if you can export the data to spreadsheets or different types of CSV format or something, that can be done. Absolutely.
Oh, okay, sir.
Yep. We can look into that together later after the session and then discuss that a bit more. Okay.
Okay.
So with I want to just give you an idea about more about a philosophy of IRIS as well before we get started. So what we've done is worked a lot on making IRIS easy to use. Some of the things you need to do in a botanic garden can be quite complex. So what we try to do is to make it possible for you to do advanced things without being an expert. So for us, it is important that most people are productive very early on, and then after you use the system for a bit, you quickly can do quite advanced things. Even if you may not feel like you are a very expert computer person, you still should be able to do things that you might consider quite advanced. And then for some people who are very keen, they can then do very sophisticated things. This will be clear to you after we've gone through these sessions, what I mean about this. But the point is, it should be quite straightforward to do the daily things. That is quite easy for you. But you can also do quite difficult things with IRIS, and it's not that hard. So we'll get into that a bit later.
Okay, sir.
Okay, so finally, now we're going to talk a bit about terminology. So this diagram is very important because that outlines the terms used in IRIS, but also how data is handled in the system. So IRIS has a term called collections, which is basically a garden. Within IRIS, there's a term that you will see some places, collection. It means a garden or an institution. So what's special with IRIS is that you can actually manage many gardens in one system. But for most people, you only have one collection or one garden. So shouldn't be confused with the term often used of your rhododendron collection or your palm collection. This is in IRIS context, it means one garden or one sort of data set of different accessions.
One question, sir. So I got just now you say that if we go for different species, like we have a palm collection and we have timber tree collection, and we also have ornamental and gingerbread. It's a different collection. So is it combined together or we put separately in different files?
They are put together in one. In all of them are stored together in the database, and then there are ways to pull out all the palms. So you will easily find them and treat them as one collection within the system. So yeah, that will also be clearer to you after a bit here with how this is managed in the system. But so don't worry. No, it will. You put them all together, and that's the nice thing about it, that you don't have to think about, how to categorize it. It will be categorized by its taxonomy, for example. In most cases, you have one sort of IRIS collection. Let's call it that. Not IRIS. That sounds not as in plants, but IRIS-BG collection or one garden. Collection site, it could have been called. And in that we have accessions. So are you familiar with the term accession? Is that used at your garden?
Yes, we also use accession.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So
you mean for the record for numbering?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So one accession, that's normally, and that's related to one taxa. So if you get two plants of the same taxa with the same plant material, same genetic source, you would then record it as one accession with then two items. So in IRIS, it's called items, which are basically plants if you're dealing with living material. But if you're dealing with other types of material, it could be vouchers, it could be DNA extracts, etc. That's why we call it items. So it's a very generic term for anything that is related to the accession. Yeah. So it's mostly, most for living, it's basically plants, but it's called items in IRIS. We will see that when we use the system a bit. You get familiar with that very quickly.
You are referring to accession just now, right? The taxa.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know if you see my mouse, but the accession has one taxa. So if you get a Quercus robur, you know that one accession is a one taxa Quercus robur, and a taxa have many names, or can have one accepted name, or not can. It has one accepted name and can also have several synonyms. So that's how this works. So yeah. So one accession has one taxa, and that taxa can be is one accepted name and can also have several synonyms. So that's the important part to understand here, is that you could change the names of the taxa. You might say, okay, now that is not longer the accepted name, and etc. We'll repeat this later so you understand more the importance of this model. And finally, in the accession, if it's wild collected material, you have information about where it was collected in the wild, and that is called localities. So that's if you have details about the coordinates in the wild, etc. We'll show you that as well, obviously, how you could do that and how that works. And finally, for each of the items, each of the plants or herbarium vouchers, you will have a location, where it is in the garden or where it is on the in the herbarium, for example. It could be a drawer or something. So that's the main structure. We can look at this model again when we worked it a bit. Maybe we should do it at the end of the session today, when we've seen IRIS a bit more, just to make sure you understand the consequence here.
Hello, sir. Normally, for each specimen, we will record the locality and description, and genus, species, family, and origin. All are recorded. Normally, we will do that.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. So and then the locality will be recorded here, and the genus, species, etc. will be recorded in the taxa. So it becomes clear when we see the screens, I think, and then
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So these are just a few definitions. It's not so important, but I have just put them out here. So taxa is just. I tell you what, if you want to read them, I press pause on the video, and then you could read them. It's what I think is important if someone is seeing this recording later and wonder about accession, is that normally an accession is one or several plants or plant material of the same genetic material. So that's the normal practice. However, sometimes when you are a bit pragmatic, if you, for example, get some plant material from a nursery, they seem to be grown at the same time, they're the same age, and they're not of importance. Let's say you got 10 or 5 Acer trees that you're going to plant outside the garden, you might record them as one accession because they came from the same source. They're probably not the same genetic material, but sometimes you have to be a bit pragmatic about these things. So but that depends.
This is our living collection record.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or preserved as well. I mean, but preserved you will probably also there you'll be more strict maybe on terms of grouping one accession or splitting them up. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Now we can start with Iris a bit. So what we're going to start is just very, very, very slowly by starting up Iris and then navigating between the screens, and then so what I'll do is I'll show you first, and then you can do it after I've completed my exercise. So I'm going to start. So what I'm starting here is the trial version. I'm going to start it from scratch so we can let's see here. So this is a completely fresh installation of the trial version. So obviously you can't. So what I get here is a logon thing, and when a trial version, you log in with the user admin, and the password is change me in one word. And then you will be asked to change the password. I recommend not doing that on the trial version, because if you forget it, well, we can't help you much with the trial version. We can, but it's sort of quite a lot of work. So basically, just keep that password change me on the trial version if you're running that.
So right now we have to log in into the trial version, isn't it?
Yes, but you can wait. I can just go quickly through the details, and then you can do it after I've showed you the basics here. Okay? And then so I've logged in with the admin and password change me, and then on the left hand side here you see the different screens in the system. So if you logged in with less access, if you're not an administrator, you may not see all these options. It might be hidden from you if you don't have access to them. And then to navigate to the different screens, you just click on, for example, the accession screen here, and then that will come up, and then you get the details on the accessions, and then you can go further down here and navigate to the taxa screen, and you can then go down to reports. So it's very easy to navigate through, and the system will remember where you've been. So you can click up here to go back, and you see also it says F7. So if you want to be a bit more quick, you can click F7 to navigate back as well. So it's sort of remembered where you've been, just like in a browser. So that's very easy to navigate. And when you're in different screens, you get the toolbar up here, where you have the different used functions for the system. If you have just installed Iris, you probably will have a small toolbar, not a big one like I have here. And you can change that by going up here to do File, Options, and then change that from false to true. And then you get that large toolbar. That is often a bit easier to do thing. So yeah, you can. I don't know. Have you used Iris a bit already, both of you? Or
yes.
hello?
Yeah. Currently we try to do it. We try to follow you using the.
Yeah. We go to options, and then we go to a large toolbar. It's false and true, and we click true.
Yeah. Great.
Okay.
Okay.
Then,
so you see that.
Okay. Then okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, now we got accessions, manage collection, accession, and items.
Yeah, great. Okay, yeah, like here, yeah. And another thing you can do here, a small extra tip, is on the window here, window tool. So you see all these different options you have here on the menu. And you also see that there's a shortcut key if you want to be, if you want to repeat a thing several times. to get this clear is Control E, for example. There's one thing that's quite handy as well is this one here, full screen, F11. So that takes Iris and fills the whole screen for you. So and that F11 is used by other programs as well, like browsers and Word, I think, as well. So it's nice if you want to focus on working on Iris and nothing else. Then that's quite a nice feature as well. Okay. So the next thing now we're going to talk a bit or do a bit of basic search, looking for data, because that's obviously very important to find the data you have. So and of all the screens here in Iris, accession screen, the one we're in here, is the one you will use the most. That is, you know, a lot of time we've spent here compared to all the other screens. And that's also where you obviously often look for data. So to search for things in Iris, you can actually use the screen itself to search. And that is a bit unusual, but it's also very efficient, very handy when you want to just look for things. And then when you want to search for things, you have to make sure you don't have a record in the screen. So before you do anything, you then start by clicking clear. So you see here there will be should be a hint: prepare for search or new entry. So if you click clear the screen, it's not necessary in this case, but because there's no data here. But that's the first thing you need to do when you're looking for a new record. And then if I want to search for example, let's say we want to look for rhododendrons, I can just, in the taxon name here, I can just type rhododendron, for example, and then click search. Before I do that, I would just give you a tip. It's often smart to not type the whole name, but maybe just type the beginning of it, because, you know, for example, many of these Latin names is difficult to spell, and if you do misspell it, it's likely that it won't find it. So if I'm going to look for rhododendrons, I would typically just type the first 3, 4, 5 letters like this, rhododendron, or just rod. And then if I then click search, I get a list. And you can do the same and see if you get 19 rhododendrons.
Yeah, we got it, sir. We got it.
Excellent. Yeah. And what you see here now is that we have a list with starting with rhododendron rosatum, etc. And then at the bottom here, there's a few numbers that's nice to mention. So there are 6 different taxa. There are 8 different countries of origin. And then there are 19 records in total. So these are quite a nice, handy thing to do. There's a lot of things you could do here. You can sort it by clicking on the columns. You know, if I want to sort by accession number, I can do that. That's not so handy because you see the numbers are, so it's probably better to have it sort by accession year number, or you could sort it by taxon name, etc. So yeah, so very easy. And then if you want to, yeah, sorry.
Just asking. So for now, we can do this, perform this search after we have adding our data information, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We're now looking in the trial database. I should mention that. Yeah, there's you know, a couple of thousand accessions so that you can get started and play with the data. But if you have you know, in a very new database or an empty database, you won't have that many. So that, yeah, but that's correct. We're looking now in the plant collection. Yeah.
Okay.
If you want to then open one of these, I'm going to order. If you want to sort by several columns, by the way, you hold the Shift button down. So I'm down. Click on accession year first, and then hold the Shift to click on the next one. Then you search by sort by year and then number. So that's just a small tip. If I want to look at one of these, I can either double click or I can use the space bar. So I'll double click. So if I click on that, and then you get the accession up. Okay. And we now have these 19 accessions. You can see down here in the bottom, it says 1 of 19. And I can go through my list of these 19 by clicking next. So then we get number 2.
So that means that the whole data that inside the trial right now is 19, so that we can know what is the number of data that we have.
Yeah, well, these are the 19 rhododendrons that we looked for. Well, we'll play a bit more with this. The important thing, so if I go back to this is the list, the data I searched for. I can also jump back to this list. So you see here is these 19 rhododendrons we looked for. And I can go down to this tomatasum and double click on that instead. So now I'm in the list and I'm looking at the record number 8 of the 19 rhododendrons that we have. So this is the concept. You can search for data and then you can look at individual records by clicking on the search result forth and back. It's almost like a bit of a tab, like here. You know, it's you go into the details. Okay. So let's do a bit more searching, and then you will feel comfortable with this when you used it a bit more. But let's focus on the search. So if you want to now try another search, let's clear the screen. And then let's say we want to look for wild collected rhododendrons. I would then type rod up here again. And then I would go down here to the field here called provenance. You see here? And say wild. And then you can click search again. And then let's see what we get. Yeah, so we got 12 wild collected rhododendrons. Did that work out for you? Yeah, great. And then the same here, you can now do whatever you like. You can search, sort, and you can print it, whatever. And then you can open number 4, for example, by double clicking. And then you can look at details, and then you can go to the next one, etc. So that's so when you search for things, you can use in the screen, you can search in the fields that have a small symbol behind it. So let's see if I can make it a bit more here. It's a bit sort of small here. You see here, I'm zooming in, after the accession number here, you see there's a very small symbol. So that can be searched for. You can search for taxon name, and you can search for accession year, etc. So all these fields that have a symbol behind it means that you can use that for search.
You mean click the symbol?
No, not click the symbol, but use the field. So when if I now want to search for something else, I clear the screen, and then I can search in taxon name. Yes, we know that already. I can search rhododendron here.
Okay. Yeah.
And then but reference, that field cannot be searched for because there's no symbol there. But locality I can search, and not contact, habitat, but contact, etc. So these are the fields you can use in the screen to search for things.
Okay, so the same symbol apply. The same symbol meaning that we can like narrow down. For example, taxon name have the same origin, have the same symbol as the taxon name, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. Exactly, you can narrow it down a bit. So I could do rhododendron, and then down here in origin, I probably won't find anything. But if I do Russia, for example, and see if I get anything. No, nothing. No data found. So, but anyway, another thing I want to say is that it's also quite clever, especially when it comes to taxon name. If I want to find a rhododendron tomatosum, I can do something like this. Rod, and then space here. So rod. So any genus starting with rod, and then species started with TOM, and then click search. Then I get my rhododendron tomatosum. Okay. So that's all good. So we can do a lot of search like this. However, if you want to do more complicated things, let's say you want to get all the rhododendrons that you got between year 1990 and year 2000. So I can search for 1990 here and then rhododendron, but I can't find how do I do all the ones from 91, 92, etc. That doesn't really work that well with this type of search. So that's why we have something called advanced search. So if I clear the screen and click advanced search instead, you suddenly see a long list of options. It can look a bit sort of confusing to begin with, but you will quickly get used to many of these things after a few days. So if I wanted to do all my rhododendrons from that was accession between 1990 and 2000, I click here, and then you see here I can type in accession year 1990, 2000. I have several options here. I could do between, I can do greater n, etc. But we want between, and then we want to do wild collected and wild garden origin. So I go down to provenance, and here I could do if I do wild, but I want to have wild and both of these two. So I can then do in list, and then say wild. Click on those two. Okay. And we want the rhododendrons. So this is grouped, as you can see, some information is on the accession. And we want to search on not on plant information, but on taxon information. So we want to do taxon name begins with rhododendron. As I say, a lot of these things might be a bit confusing or difficult for you to see what is that. Don't worry about it. You will get familiar with a lot of these things after a while. CITES, etc. You might not use those details anyway, but taxon name should be quite self-explanatory by now. And then so we're going for accession year 1990 to 2000. Provenance, wild garden, wild origin. Okay, are you with me here?
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. So now, when you search now, you will. Let's hopefully we get a few records. Yeah. So now we see we got 7 rhododendrons. You see their accession between 91 to 98, which makes sense, and they're all wild, correct? There's no wild garden origin, but that's fine. So, and we can do the same again. Now we can open the first one, have a look at that one, go to the next one, look at that, etc. So that was a very advanced search already. And this is typically something you often would need days of training to do in other scenarios. But you can see now, if I clear and go back again here, it will remember the last one. And then you can combine and do all kinds of other things with this kind of search and find and run the search again. If you say you want to do everything after 1990 instead, then you would just change this to greater than equal, so you get everything from 1990 onwards. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, that's searching in the accession screen, and the same principle applies. The nice thing with the advanced search is that this is exactly how you also run the reports when you want to produce reports and maps with the collection data, and we get back to that later. So okay, so let's do a few slides again. So I'm now just going to give you a sort of a broad overview of how IRIS is designed, so that you feel more at ease when you look through the system in different parts of the system. So in IRIS, you will see three types of screens. One we call a list screen. So that's basically a bit like a spreadsheet. You see the data listed all together. And the second type we called a data list screen. So these are where you have a bit more complicated data, more information. So you have a list on one part of the screen and then the details on the other side. And then the last type of screen is what we just saw, the one for the accessions, which are called the data view screen, which is much more. That's where you have a lot of data in typically like the accession, and also the same is for the taxa, same type of setup. So then the list of data is presented on a separate screen altogether. So that's the one we saw already. So I'm going to show you a few examples of all of those, so you understand better what I mean by these different types of screens. The reason we mention this is that they behave slightly differently. So in terms of how you enter new data and change data, etc. Okay. So let's start by a list screen. So here's one example. This is the accession item status or plant status. You see here that I'll show you in better with a proper screen in a few seconds, but you get all the data in one go. You see everything immediately. There's no search or anything. You can just go straight in and make changes. So we're going to make we're going to do a small thing here, a small exercise. We're going to make changes to a few item status. We're going to change one from dead to dead natural cause. And then we're going to add a new called dead horticultural cause. So let's go and see how that works. So that screen was the item status, which is down here under definitions. And then you see here called item status. Okay. And we're going to work on planting. So you click on this little plus button here to expand the different data. So this screen is where you manage the different types of status you have for your plants. So you know the plant is planted, it's moved, it's propagated, or whatever. So you can change this, like so many other things in IRIS. You can change most things, including this one here. And we want to change here this one from dead to dead natural cause. So why do we do this? Yes, because our manager said, oh, we want to know how many plants die just due to store them or whatever, or illness, and how many are died just due to bad practice by staff. It's just a fictitious example.
So this planting refer to our living collection.
Yes.
maintenance for living collection?
Yeah.
Because
For herbariums, they are up here.
Mhm.
So here it's much easier because then you only have, either you have the herbarium voucher or you don't. And then you can also have missing, so as you can see.
If we have both herbarium voucher and living collection.
Yeah. Whether you, I can't remember if you have both in at your garden. I need to check, but you, if you do, you will see both these options.
Yeah. We have both, and we bought for both.
Yeah. I think you do. Yeah. I can let me. I can quickly find out if you give me a second. I should have known this. Sorry about that. Yes, you do. Absolutely. Yeah. So then, yeah. So now I've made changes here. I said I changed it from dead to dead natural cause. And then I can click save now. But what is important to know now is that all the records that I have recorded as dead now changed to dead natural cause. So that might not be a good idea because, you might, some of them might actually have died due to horticultural cause instead. But for the sake of argument here, we will just leave it like this. But in a proper garden, you might want to have three types of. You might want to say one that's called unknown, like this instead, and then we could have. So let's add another one. If I click plus here to add a new entry, so we call it PXH ed. Horticultural cause. So basically,
we have to put our own code and tags code that refer to what kind of tags.
Yeah, the code. The reason we have a code is that sometimes it's easier to refer to codes when you run reports, but also when you do data import, etc. So it's you could be whatever you like. I'm just, because this one is called PXX, I gave this PXH, but it could be whatever you like. It's not so important, but you just need to have some code, and you can change these codes later if you like as well. It's just that in some settings, when you run reports, for example, it can be easier to use that. And here under type, we're going to say that it's dead, meaning not existing. So there are three different types. So with Iris, when it comes to status, either the plant is alive or existing, it is dead, not existing. It is procedure. That means that it's, normally that is used for propagation, for example. So it's not officially part of the collection yet, but we hope it will be. Let's put it that way. So the difference here is that when you search for plants around and about, you often can search for all the plants that are alive. That will be existing, or all the ones that are dead, etc. So we set not existing. And then if I now put sort order 7 here as well, then it will come together with this one, dead unknown cause. And I'm going to put another one in here for the sake of it, which is called PXN ed natural cause, like that. And not existing, and 7 again. So that means that it comes together with these two others. So when I save now, you have suddenly 3 types of dead These are the ones that we already have, and now we can start recording plants depending on how we believed it died, so that you can answer your manager. You know, after a while, you can then say, yeah, 20% of the plants that died due to an horticultural cause. The rest died due to natural causes, for example. So that's why this is, you know, why do we record all this data? Yeah, that's typically one of the reasons, is to be able to answer these type of questions. How many plants do we have that are web collected? How many are died last year? What's the average life for you know, a type of species, etc., etc. So all those kind of questions that we want to answer, we need to then record the information that can give you these answers. Okay, so so this is how this list screen works. You basically click the green button to add an item, and if you want to delete something, you put the marker here. If I want to delete this, I have to delete it and then click save. However, the system will prevent you if you try to delete like any of these statuses and they are used, you will be prevented from doing so. So Iris will protect you from making those kind of mistakes as well. Okay.
So
Yeah.
How about herbarium? Can you explain about herbarium? Missing, destroy.
Yeah. When we it comes probably becomes a bit clearer when we start to record an accession. Then you will see these status coming up. So when you record plants, you typically say, okay, now it's planted, and then maybe a few months later we have inspected it. So we then use this status to say we have inspected it, or we have given it away, etc. So that's the status we have for plants. And for herbarium, we basically then just record whether the voucher is okay, whether it's missing, or whether it's destroyed. Might be handy to have one that's got given away as well if that's happened. But anyway, that's the basic principle. We'll include a herbarium voucher later on today, and then you will understand a bit better how these lists work in the system. Okay.
Okay.
Yep. Okay, so that's now we've looked at the list screen. So we did that with the item status. Then we have another type of screen which is called a data list screen, and that is a screen where you have all the records on the left-hand side and the details on the right. Typically here we see the personnel screen, you know, all the staff in the garden. They're found here in the personnel. And then another type of screen is called the contacts, which we're going to try to look at. So we're going to go into the contacts screen, and then we're going to add some information, and we're going to delete a record as well. So let's go back to Iris. So the contact screen, so that basically is, if I go to management, contacts.
Management contact.
Management contact.
Yeah, this is where you record typically people or institutions or people who supply plant material. They are also used in some other contexts, but that's the most commonplace. And then the first thing we want to do was to update some details on Devonian Botanic Garden. So here it's the same thing. We don't get any data deferred. We need to search for things. And you remember from our introduction here where we talked about search in accession screen, the same thing work here. if I want to search for something, we want to make changes in Devonian Botanic Garden, I can just search for Devonian. So I just Devo here and click search. And it comes up immediately. And funnily enough, I just got an email yesterday from them. So we can, they have changed the name to University of Alberta Botanic Garden. So I'm going to make that change. I'm going to just change that here by, so the reason we got that straight away was that we only had one, we found one, so we got the record here straight away. So I'm just going to change it to University of Alberta Botanic Garden, like that. So, and then remove that one. And then I click save.
Remove. How to remove?
Yeah.
How to remove the University of Alberta? Because you just changed University of Alberta to University of Alberta Botanic Garden, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And then I just deleted. I just selected the thing in name 2 here and just deleted that. Yeah.
Okay. We got it.
Okay, cool. So you see, very easy to change things here. And the thing is, when I click save, you will see down here in the right corner, it has a pardon?
Hello?
Sorry, I didn't hear that.
Yeah. We see that the corner is green color. It's save is completed.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, save. And then in the right corner, you see admin and then a date and a time.
Yeah.
So next time someone goes in to see this record, they will see the same date and time. So they see that admin changed this information. In this case, 8 o'clock in the morning. So that important there is that's why it's important that you log in with your own initials so that you can see who's made what changes. So that makes it easier for people to keep track of who's doing what, etc. Now we're going to add a new contact here as well. So to add a new one, we click this one up here, clear, to prepare a new search. Okay. And then we can just start filling in information. So we're going to add Smithsonian Gardens. We're going to get the code SI.
So it is the same as the plant data. So for new data, we need to key in first.
First, yeah, for new data, you need to click clear, new. And then you can start filling in details in the screen. If I were to change data directly in the previous record, we will just make changes to the existing record. So now if I click save, you see we have a new record already. Now we have a new contact called Smithsonian Gardens. And you don't need to record more information than I did here. I mean, it depends on what you might want to put in address and country, whatever, but you don't have to. So very easy. Yeah.
Okay, good.
Okay, cool. So the final thing we're going to do here is to delete one. We know that there's a duplicate here. I'm going to clear the screen. I'm just going to click search. If I do that now, I will get all the contacts coming up as one list. So I'll do that just to show you that how that works. It's not a long list. It's, you see down here, there's 239 contacts. Yeah, and I can then scroll down. I know down here at the bottom, we have, here you can see we have two that has the same name. It's Qian Botanic Garden in China. Yeah?
Yeah. The external contacts, we have to key in just that, just like what you showed just now, right?
Yep.
So,
yep.
So right now we just want to confirm whether we have key in it double, isn't it?
Yeah. Now this is an example. I knew that already, that we had two duplicates here. So
Can
yeah.
we search through Google any new contact?
What you mean search through Google? Yes. You could search here, obviously, but there's no integration with the web browsers or something. We could do that with Taxa later, but not with contacts.
Okay.
Yeah. But but here, you know, over time you can quickly add. You know, it can happen that you get duplicates. You know, in this case, we have these is typically the same one, and we don't want two of the same. So I'm going to keep this one. That's the correct one. So I'm going to delete this one. So if you click on that, and you see that you get this here, and then if you then click delete, you will get a message saying that you have now probably some accessions related to this contact. So we can't just delete it. We need to make sure that all these accessions are transferred to another contact. So we then transfer it to the other duplicate. Okay? And when we do this now, if you click OK, now we have only one. Now we removed the other one, and we also tied it up so all the accessions and other data related to the first contact were now transferred over to the other one. So this is one of the things that I mentioned in the introduction about things that could be technically quite complicated, but for you it's very easy, and you can keep a very nice tidy list of contacts when you accidentally add a new one or duplicates. Yeah.
Okay.
Did it work out for you?
Yes, sir. Good.
Yeah. Okay. Great. So the next one, we're going to open the screen again. So that's now we've done the. We go back again. So we've done the list screen. We saw that already with the accession items status. The status we did, and then we did an exercise with contacts where you have a list and then you have details on the right-hand side. You will see a bit more of that later in the sessions. And then finally, we're going to now update accessions, which is sort of the more what we call the data view screen, which has more information. So we're now going to have an exercise where we're going to update one accession. We're going to change the contact to Smithsonian Gardens, and then we're going to change the status on the plant to planted in the herb garden, and then today, and then we're going to add another item. Okay, let's do that. So I'm going to go back to Iris. here. So we're going to go to the accession screen. Yeah. And then we're going to look for, so I have it noted down here. So we're going to look for accession number 2011-4. So we could do that by just up here. If you have first clear the screen, if you have a record, clear the screen. And then we can type 11 like this. This is a fast way to look for accession numbers. It will understand that you are probably looking for 2011. And then you can just either click search or you can just click enter. And then you should get this record coming up. Okay. And we were going to change the contact. So here we see this was recorded as coming from Hortus Botanicus de Vrije Universiteit. But this is correct. This is incorrect. We want to change it to Smithsonian. Then you could just click on this column, and then you could click here to get the drop down. And I don't know if you remember, when we added the Smithsonian Gardens, we gave it the code SI, and that's the one we can use here. So I can be clever now and just type SI, and it will find it very quickly. So that's one of the reasons why you can, if you use these codes a bit cleverly, you can be very efficient when you look for things. I can just use the backspace to get rid of it, and then you can, of course, look through the list by dragging it like this to find what you're looking for as well. So we're changing it by clicking this one, Smithsonian Gardens. Okay. And then when you look at this record, you see that, as I said in the introduction, items, that means plants and herbarium vouchers. We have one item, so we can click on that. And this has the status in Seed Store. We have now got information that it has been planted out. So we haven't recorded any information growing it from seed to become a plant, etc. But that's not important. So if I now want to change this, I go straight in here. So it's been planted in the herb garden. So I click on location here first. And then we go down to herb garden. I'm just going to type, here we go. Herb garden, the code is HG. So herb garden, the grove. So you can type here as well. You can type, if you know the code, you can type HG. So it becomes very quick lookup. And then the status. And now we see that list we worked on earlier today. You see now we have those 3 new ones, 2 new ones. Dead, horticultural, natural, and unknown cause. So we had those 3. And we're going to say that it was planted. So here you also see the symbol, meaning green means that the plant is alive. Red means that it's dead. Blue means that it's being processed. So it's alive, but it's not part of the collection. You won't go online to Garden Explorer, for example. So if you want to send data to BGCI, it won't be included if it has blue, but the green ones will. So we're going to select planted. There we go. So you now see we're changing information directly here, and well, I'll explain in a few minutes with the effect of that. And today, the date, we're going to record that. I'm just going to say that it happened in February. So I can say 02/2017. You don't have to write an exact date. You can write just a year or month and year or a full date. And if you have an American computer, you can write dates in American way with month first as well. Number of specimens, we can here write 1 or 2. In this case, we have a group. We don't know. There's quite a lot of them. So we're just going to write group like that. So that's something, very flexible in terms of how you do that. So the way it works here is that we have one plant and the details are here. So you can either make changes here where I am now, or you can make changes down here on the right-hand side. We have also, let's just save this now for the time being. So if I click save now, you're done. So what happened is that you see that you got a little bit of a plus symbol here. So Iris will automatically then make a log for you so that it keeps the history for you automatically. So you can see that it started in the seed store in November 2011, and then it was planted in April or February 2017. So every time you make changes, you go in and make changes in the record here. So if this dies later on, you just change to dead and then save, and then the history will automatically be created for you. If you have several plants, let's say we have another one here, I can then click the green to add another plant. And then we're going to put that in rock garden, bed 22. So I can just type R22 and then planted again. We can do February for this one as well, and group. So, and then I can save. So now you see we have 2 plants, or 2 groups of plants really. So we just, if you have 5 plants, you can either record it with 5 number of specimens or 5 different qualifiers. That is a discussion we can save for later, but it depends a bit on what type of plant material you're dealing with. Okay, so the most important thing is when I select the first line, first line, the details on the first is here. If I go to the second one, get the details here as well. Okay, and here you see the full accession number and qualifier. So this is accession number 2011-4. This is accession or plant qualifier 4 with 1. And the format here, you may have a different setup. You can change this to all kinds of setups. Some gardens prefer A, B, C for the plants qualifiers, for example. Iris can do that as well if you prefer. And some gardens, you might want to have leading zeros, so that's 4 digits. Yeah. Okay. Was this? Did you find that okay?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Great.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we've made one change. So we changed one existing record. So the principle is the same. If you want to change another one, you search for it, and then you make changes, and you click save, and then you're done. So it's very easy. Let's now record a new accession, and there we'll just clear the screen. I'm going to for those of you who. I'm going to show you the slide just for a second, so that so this is the updating we did now, and then we added, we changed the contact, and then we changed the status on the one existing plant, and then we added a second one. Now we're going to record a new accession. It's going to be an Aconitum compactum. It's from Chelsea Physic Garden in London, and there's going to be a bit of information on the accessions, and then we're going to record 3 plants. So we'll do that. And finally, we're going to also map the coordinates of the plants in the garden. Okay, we'll do it together. So to record a new one, we start by clearing the screen. And then the first thing we need to do is to give the taxon name. So these fields up here, these yellow fields, they are not for data entry. They're just for summary. So you don't type in here when you record data. You do that there here in the details. If you're going to record, we can do that for this one. Let's say we got it in 2016. This is 2017, but we got it last year, so we're a bit behind in our record keeping. So then you need to fill it in. If we don't fill in this, it will be assumed that it's this year, 2017. But we're going to put in 2016. And then the taxon is Aconitum compactum. So I can start typing here by say A, and then you see, you get the list of the different taxa. So you see we get a lot of Aconitums here. And you see here already now that we have Aconitum compactum. And so the list you get here is all the taxa, all the names, accepted names and synonyms. And you see actually that compactum is a synonym of Aconitum napellus, which is fine. So we got this from another garden, and they had given it information that it was a compactum. But in our taxonomy, this is our taxonomy we're dealing with here. We we handle this as a synonym. So if I select compactum here now, you see that the name becomes napellus, but it was received as or identified as a compactum. So that's quite handy in many different scenarios. If you receive material, or if you sometimes people prefer to record it depending on the taxonomy. They might want to also record it as the synonym, just to make a distinction. Further down here, we can then record more information about the certainty here under the destination type, etc. Locality information is where it was collected in the wild. This is not. We will have an example of that later. And then, if we go down, you can hide these things by clicking plus and minus here, so we can hide them. Collection information is more information about who collected it, etc. It's not relevant now. Origin, this is who's the supplier, and we know that that was Chelsea Physic Garden. So I can open up this one and find that. I know by heart that it's London that is the code, so I'm just going to select it like this. So now we got that information. And then provenance, that needs to be recorded, so we're going to give that provenance garden. Okay. And we scroll a bit further down, and we have a bit of information about the material. We got material type. It was living, and we got 3 plants. So I'm going to put 3 here. Number of specimens. So you see here it says very abbreviated NO spec. So if you put your mouse over it, you often get a bit of a help on what that field means in more detail. Propagation history, etc. Donor type, yeah. So whether you want to record all this information, it depends a bit on what kind of plant material you receive. But anyway, we're not going to record more here now on the accession details. We're going to go over to the plant. So we go into items here. So we got 3 plants. We received them in August 2016. 2 plants are in the nursery and 1 in the rock garden. So I'm going to do planting. So the first one in the nursery, so that's nursery number 1. So I'm just going to use inspected or for this, because it's not really planted out in the garden yet. It's just going to put in the nursery. So I'm just going to do that, inspected. and then 2016. Number of specimens. Now here you have 2 plants. I can either put 2 here, or I could put 1 and then have 1 for every single one. I'll do that just for now. So I'm going to get plus again, planting, and the same nursery, and then inspected, and then August 2016, 1. The reason I do that in this case is that I expect that these 2 plants will go out in the garden soon later and be in different parts of the garden. So that's why I'm doing it.
Transplanting, right?
Yeah, later we might want to move. So, you know, I could have put 1 line and just had 2 here instead of having 2 individual lines. But in this case, I'm going to have 2 individual lines because I'm expecting to keep track of them separately. Okay. The last thing, we're going to put 1 plant out into the rock garden, the 3rd plant. So I'm going to click another one. So it's rock garden bed 55 again, like this. And then planted. Whoops. Planted. Hey, why is it coming up in the wrong way here? I'm just going to type planted like that. August 2016. 1. Okay. Now, we can. The final thing we want to do with this one is that we want to put where it is in the garden on the map. So you see here now we have recorded information about that it was planted in the rock garden, but we want to also put it where it is on the map. So we can do that by going here. If you make sure you selected this one, the new one. Are you all keeping on with me, by the way? Yeah, fantastic. You're really great students. So when you want to record the mapping here, so we could just click here on this little map symbol, show location on map.
Yeah.
And then we get the map, and it opens up straight in the middle of rock garden 55.
Okay.
And this aconitum was planted up here in this part of the garden. So you can just drag the marker where it is in the garden.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have a mouse with a wheel, you can zoom in by just using the wheel like that. So I'm just going to say, oh, this is where it is. Here I'm using Google Satellite. You can switch between, depending on you get all those kind of other maps here. There's an ArcGIS map for this garden. We can have a look at that. So here we get more of a topography map, or I can switch to, OpenStreetMap, for example. Where's that? This one. It may not be so good. Let's see. It doesn't seem to be very good. Here we go. It's not very good at all. So I'm going to go back to Google Satellite. But anyway, you can change between different maps. So the location of the plant is recorded in Iris, and then you could pull maps from different map sources, and you can set up, if you have your own maps, you can also put them in here. We will talk about that a bit later. So, but anyway, when you're happy with the place where you put the marker, you just click here up here, select and close. And then the position you placed will be then converted into the coordinate format that is you have set up for your garden. And now we can click Save. And then we'll see that we get an accession number, the next available one, which is in the Terrail database 2016-1. And then each of these plants give a qualifier number 1, 2, and 3. And up here you get the full accepted name, family, and then in this case, information about the supplier. If it was wild collected, you would get information about where it was collected in the wild. Okay. I see that we have 10 minutes left, so I'll try to be a bit more. I think we should be okay with that.
Yeah, yeah.
We will go through tomorrow or the next session. We'll go through a more advanced example of recording new accessions. So this was more like more like a normal or very sort of basic example. But then next time we'll do some photos and record information about locality and things like that.
Okay.
Okay, so we have now recorded some accessions, we've made some changes to some contacts, and we have added some plant status. Now we're going to run a few reports. So let's go back to the slides. So what we're going to do now is run a few reports just to give you a quick introduction and then also to create some maps so you're familiar with that. So the first report we're going to do is the accession catalog. We're going to get all the wild collected plants of the Ranuncula family that are living. Okay. So reports you'll find down here under reports. It's quite self-explanatory. And the reports are structured in that you get all the details here, depending on what you want to. If you want to run reports on accessions, you go for accession objects. If you want to do plants or herbarium vouchers, is that what you want to pre-produce? Then you go here, you run the accession item report. If you want to have a report on taxa, you go on taxa, etc. So they are grouped on basically what kind of information you want to produce. Events, you will understand more about what that is later on in the next sessions, but we'll stick with these now. So the accession catalog, let's do that first. So we want to look for all the wild collected provenance wild. And we want to make sure we only have the living plants. So I don't know if you remember when we worked on the status, you could have said, okay, I want everything that was planted and everything that was moved, etc. But instead we can just do accession item status type to existing. Okay? And we want only planting, so we're going to do item type planting. You can see here, you can make sure you only get herbarium vouchers or only planting. Yeah. And then we're going to do family Ranuncula. So if I go to taxon here now, you see we have genus, species, and then this is a bit, I'm going a bit in an advanced example straight away, but if you want to do higher ranks, you want to search for family or even higher up order or section or something, you can then go here and say, I want to do rank, in this case, family. But you can see you could do order, super order, etc. And then we're going to do the name. Here we got the list, and then we're going to do Ranuncula. So you get all the different families here. And then we want to do Ranuncula. Well, I'm not pronouncing it right. It's probably Ranuncula. Well, it doesn't matter. I'm not going to try it. Okay. So are you with me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we choose what we want to report. We choose certain like taxa or what kind of report that we want to generate, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So when I click view now.
So you want family?
Yep.
Yeah, choose one.
Yeah.
Okay.
You should then get a Word document coming up somewhere. Sometimes the Word, your Word doesn't sort of pop up automatically for you. You might need to sort of look at it on the taskbar to find it. So this particular report is based on a Word template. So these kind of reports you can change yourself. There are some video tutorials on that. We talk about that a bit later in the training, but this particular report will, as you can see, produce a Word document, which is quite nice if you want to, present that or send that to someone. And then you can either then save the file or you can, close it and delete it, whatever. Yeah. Sorry, did you have a question?
The Word document letter, we save it, and then later if you want to change or edit, we can just change on the Word document. Let's say we just want to do some changes or add on some page from inside the Word document.
Yes, yeah. From now you can just use that document however you want, like any other Word document. Yeah. If you want to, I don't know, maybe add some comments or I don't know. Yeah, for sure. But if you just close it now and don't save, then it will sort of, it's just deleted, you might say, it's temporary. So that was just one example. Let's do another report. Let's do this one, accession items data, which we can then look for all the rhododendrons. We've seen them before today. So I'm going to go down to, you see here again, you have these different sections you can collapse and expand. It already selects that we want all the living plants. And we want to do rhododendrons. So I go into taxa, genus, begins with rhododendron. And then you click view when you're ready. Did it okay?
The item type.
Yeah, item type. Oh, in this case, I didn't do anything with item type. I just did. I just left it with existing. I could have said I only want plants. I just didn't do it. But and then I went down to taxon and said begins with rod. Okay.
Okay.
So then you get, so this report, most of the reports will produce a spreadsheet like this one. And that's really handy because, well, spreadsheets are very handy. Yeah, sorry.
After we choose taxon and then genus, and then we put on begin with and rod ascending, then we need to.
You click then view in the top corner.
View. Sorry, view.
Yep. If you do export, you get options of producing a PDF file and CSV and different types of formats. But export view will produce the report in the standard format. Yeah.
After we click view, there is a pop-up say that how do you want to open this file, meaning that we can choose either using Office or Microsoft Office, Excel or
Office or Microsoft
Excel.
Yeah, you choose Microsoft Excel. Yeah.
Okay, we got it.
Yeah. Now I hope you might remember. Yeah, exactly. Good. Yeah. And then you have now some in front of you. You have something like this.
Yeah. We have rhododendron in Excel form.
Yeah. And what I also wanted to say is that this report layout. We will talk about that in a later session. How to change the layout so you can have different types of reports. So this is just one of the standards, but you can change that yourself. So. Yeah. Okay. And then you can as we did the Word document, you can keep this spreadsheet, send it to someone else, or you can make changes to it, etc. So I'm just going to close that again, like that. So that was Yeah. We're going to then, we're running a bit over time. Is that okay for you if we do a few more minutes?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we'll just to round off nicely. We're going to do a map here where we're going to look for all the plants which begins with ARB. So I'm just going to go back here. So now we've done reports. So you see the principle is the same for all reports. You select the report if I want to do taxa, and then I can just fill in the details and run view, and then you get the data. When it comes to maps, they're basically a similar way. You can produce maps based on the same thing. So there are global maps, which is maps of plants where they're collected in the wild, and then local maps, that is information about where they are in the garden. So if I'm going to do a plants map or items map, I just want to find all the ones that are, so this planting, and then location code begins with ARB. So just because I know that this is all the plants or the arboretum plants. So when I do that now, click view. It's coming up on a different screen here for me, but I'll give you a second and then I'll get the map in front of you here. Like this. So here we got, did you get the same?
No, we can't open the map.
Oh, you can't open it? Or?
Yeah. Internet. In our laptop, it's okay.
Okay, good. So anyway, you now got all the, you see here up here, item type planting, location ARB, state existing, all the living plants. So when you put your marker on this, you can see what kind of records are there. The yellow ones are individual accessions. The orange, the red ones are areas where there are more than maybe one plant, but they don't have exact coordinates. We'll talk a bit more about that in the next session about the different symbols here. But here you can then click on this particular one, this ginkgo, and then you can look at the record for that individual accession and see details about it. And then you can close and go back again. So we'll talk about that a bit later. So I just wanted to show you, this was like a quick introduction of the mapping feature. But the important thing is that they can be used a bit like reports. So you can create reports of different types. Okay, we'll talk about that later. Finally, I can save this filter. Let's save this filter by clicking the ellipsis button here. I'm just going to say call this arboretum. Plant. Yeah, we'll just call it arboretum, and then I can save this. So this is my private, or I can make it so that all the staff can use it together. So I'm making it public. So that means that next time you run in, you can just use this filter, and that is available for all the reports. So you can easily run the same report again in a month's time or tomorrow. Okay. Now we've done reports and we've done maps. So I think for exercise for those who are recording, we can do another one later, but we skip that now for time. It's you could do an accession map with a subclass Magnoliaceae, but we'll skip that just to keep it down a bit on the time because we're running a bit over. What we're going to finish off with is how to get help. So with Iris, if you go up here, click help, or click F1, you get help. If I now stand here in maps and click F1, I will get the details here, and then you can navigate through, and there's a lot of information here about how to use the system. So get you familiar with that and use that. There's a style of help here that is a bit like a reference help, so it might not always give you the answers. Alternatively, we have also on our website, there's support. Under the support menu, you will see video tutorials, you will be the user forum, there's a blog, and there's some user guides you can download. So I'm going to show you quickly. Bear with me. I'm just going to bring up a browser here. Let's see. 2 seconds. Here we go. Here's our website. So when you go to support, you see here we got the video tutorials. There are lots of video tutorials here where you can look at getting started and all that kind of thing. So it's very good. And finally, on the bottom here, there's also a link to. There should be. We'll make sure there is. We have a YouTube channel where you get. Here we go. IRIS-PD YouTube channel where you get more videos. And then there's a forum where you can register. There's questions coming up here and answers to more complicated questions, importing contacts, for example, things like that. So, and then going back, we also have the blog, which I probably advise you to subscribe to, where we write articles about more sort of detailed topics.
For the user forum, we need to register or log in in order to use it. In order to
you don't have to register to look at questions, but if you want to put your own questions to the forum, then you need to register. So it's open to look at all the questions that there already. So yeah. And with the blog, you can subscribe to that by just going here. I'm already, but if you enter your email address here, you can then get information when it's new, or you can follow us on Facebook or Twitter, YouTube, etc. So plenty of options to get information and to follow us. And of course, if you have questions and you don't find the answer either on these questions through the tutorial, the user forum, the blog, or whatever, you can also then contact us, obviously. I forgot to mention that going back here, support downloads. Here you got your user guides. There's a PDF, which is quite nice here, that is written in a more like a sort of different style than the help file. And then you have here some plugins, which we'll talk about a bit later, but there's like the plugin for Excel and Word, etc. Yeah. Okay, great. So let's quickly finish off. So we've gone through the fundamentals, the terminology in the beginning today with the different terms used in IRIS. We'll manage to basic navigation, screen layout, etc. And then we search for records, both basic search and advanced search. And then we've added and updated a number of records, accessions, accession item status, and contact, etc. And then we finally did some reports and maps. And then at the end, we talked a bit about help. So with next session, we'll go much deeper to what we call intermediate topics. So I will then stop the recording and thank you very much for joining. And then we'll see you soon for the next one. Let's see.